Hello, hello. Testing, testing, yep. Okay, good morning, everyone. We are starting here today to present some findings about emissions from soil deforestation in Brazil. My name is Tiago Reis. I work for Trase and Global Canopy and Imaflora. My colleague here, Lisandro, is working for Imaflora. He will comment a little bit on the agriculture sector roadmap to 1.5 degrees that was released 2 days ago. So these findings, they are related to this roadmap. I just wanted to highlight this from the beginning. So the very key message here is that, as we already know, the world can't reach net zero by 2050 without ending tropical deforestation in this decade. So tropical deforestation accounts alone for 7% of global emissions of greenhouse gases. Trase is a data-driven initiative that maps commodity supply chains using disparate and publicly available data and also data on financial institutions to understand what are the risks related to commodity supply chains, to agricultural expansion, and also to the financial sector that funds this expansion. So now going to these findings that I'm going to present here, the novelties. In 2020, Brazilian soy production on recently deforested land was linked to 103 million tons of gross CO2 emissions. This is a gross figure because, as we know, some of these soy fields, they can absorb some carbon dioxide, but in here we are only considering what was released. This figure, this amount of soy harvested in areas that was recently deforested and that emitted this amount of carbon dioxide, this is 11% of total land use change according to the Brazilian SEG, the System for Estimating Greenhouse Gases Emissions, that was released yesterday. If we compare the two biomes, the Brazilian Amazon and the Cerrado, soy replaced 3 times as much of the Cerrado as the Amazon. However, soy deforestation emissions from both biomes were at the same levels. This figure highlights the amount of carbon stocks that are embedded in Amazon forest lands and other types of native vegetation. So it's important to acknowledge that while the Cerrado is mostly threatened by soy expansion for its biodiversity, for its water and other environmental services, the Amazon is threatened by its carbon emissions. So it has a huge, a more relevant impact on climate change. Also, soy was harvested from 133,000 hectares of Amazon lands that were deforested after 2008. And this happened in spite of the soy moratorium being in place. This represented something around 69 million tons of CO2 emissions. And this is an important point to raise here because the soy moratorium is a zero deforestation commitment made by 25 companies that currently trade about 95% of all soy produced in the Amazon biome. So this commitment is very simple. It promises not to source from the Amazon forest lands that were cleared after July 2008. So we can see here, we cannot claim that this is directly breaching the commitment, but it's a very clear indication that there is a potential breaching of the commitment, because if 95% of the soy flows from the Amazon are committed for not deforesting it to plant soy after 2008, and we still find 133 hectares of Amazon lands with soy production in 2020, this is a clear signal that something is going wrong. Still, Brazil can make a huge difference if targeted action is implemented. So there is a solution for this. Although the scale of the problem seems very daunting, Trase data reveals that it's possible to address this with targeted approach. I say that because just 309 municipalities out of 2,388 soy-producing municipalities account for 95% of all the deforestation for soy in 2020 in Brazil. So 13% of the soy-producing municipalities can solve the problem, basically. If you target action into these places, you can resolve 95% of the deforestation for soy in Brazil. So this is just a very preliminary presentation. We are releasing these novel data, but not going into much details because this is actually being completely released on a webinar on 7 December. So we invite you to attend this webinar. You can register on this link here, bit.ly/tracemail. And in this webinar, we will present all the findings, all the figures, all the methods as well. So this is more like an invitation for you, and we gave these preliminary findings. Before finishing this, I would like to comment very briefly on the roadmap, on the agricultural sector roadmap. It is very disappointing to see a roadmap where soy, palm oil, and beef companies basically committed to set targets. It's a target to set target. And also, it's not clear the definition of deforestation and conversion, completely ignoring collective processes that are already in place, such as the accountability framework, which have already defined these concepts of what's deforestation, what's conversion, what should be accounted. And finally, this roadmap ignores cutoff dates that have already been established by other commitments, such as in the Amazon, you have the soy moratorium, defining that no soy can be produced on lands deforested after 2009. And the roadmap ignores that. For palm oil, you also have the NPDE, which also sets cutoff dates. One of the companies that are signatories to this roadmap, it also has a cutoff date of 2015 for the Cerrado, but this is not mentioned in the roadmap. I mean, just to give a very brief overview of the problems that we encountered in this roadmap. Any questions about this before I pass on to Lisandro? No? Thank you. So I'd like to pass to Lisandro to comment more details about this roadmap.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tiago, for the presentation. I waiting the day to launch the final reports. I will make part of the webinar. To introduce me first is I'm glad to be here. Make some comments about the study, but I will focus on the roadmap launch and the early week. So my name is Lisandro Nakaki. I'm a project coordinator at Maflora. I'm Brazilian NGO. And I am a lead of the Soil on Track program. That is an initiative held by Maflora that works to strengthen deforestation conversion-free supply chain commitments, in this case, in the soy value chain. Reacting to the presentation provided by Tiago, I'd like to add some data about the reality of the Amazon soy moratorium implementation. I think it's important because we can analyze a little bit more how the impact related to soy value chain regarding the no good news that we received now this week linked to the climate emergency. Despite formal reports informing that at about 150,000 hectares of soy harvest into the season 2020-2021 comes from the deforested land after 2008, more production areas could be contaminating markets with non-conformity soy, which means soy coming from deforested areas. what I want to say that it could be a little bit more big, no, or bigger than the problem that or the impact related to the sector. But so it's because the Amazon soy moratorium just counts deforestation areas with soy when produce the data. These farmers we usually have more area with soy growing, where only pieces of the farm are counted in the data. Nowadays, at least 800,000 hectares are being blocked by soy traders on the Amazon soy moratorium, which represents about 15% or 15% of 6 million hectares of the soy area in the Amazon biome. It's relevant. Also, it's relevant to consider that the Brazilian exportation to soy reached in the last, in 2020, $48 billion, and 15% of this was soybean meal that 3.4 billion, almost a half percent of they received from the segment of soy meal, was exported to Union European, the exigent market. So the main commercial partner for soy meal from Brazil. The level of risk needs to be well addressed and informed by companies, and we are just talking about the Amazon biome. Tiago showed for us the relevant for the Cerrado areas, and the Cerrado don't have any commitment covering the place. So only 14% in the biome, actually, to be explained, only 14% of the soy production areas in Brazil is covered or are covered by a sectorial commitment. We have extreme areas in Brazil that cannot have any sectorial agreement. The leading soy traders, as Tiago said, join other agricultural sector companies from beef, palm oil, and cocoa, issued the roadmap agricultural sector to 1.5 Celsius degree. Even though the target date in the soy sector was aligned to 2025 by the roadmap, which means a positive definition. We need to congratulate the companies for that. Other essential definitions weren't either disclosed or assumed by the companies. Tiago read points some of them, but I'd like to highlight 3 points related to the roadmap. The first one is there is to determine if the Amazon soy moratorium is part of the roadmap. It's not clear for us, If confirmed it doesn't make part, companies are reducing their ambitions to a level we have never thought of before, because it's so strange for us, We cannot see explicitly the Amazon soy moratorium in the roadmap because it will impact several other issues, criteria defined in the roadmap. In the roadmap, it's unclear, generates uncertainty, and is unsafe for the markets and all stakeholders involved. The second point is that they define that the cutoff date has to be defined individually for each soy trader. It's a very keep unclear information. If it didn't be clear what biomes it's applicable, okay, what are you talking about related to cutoff dates? And if it can be defined for the future date. It could be that, as Tiago said, it's not aligned with the accountability framework initiatives that was developed and implemented to respond, companies to align commitments. So, if in this situation, what does it mean in terms of control, operationalization, implementation, and transparency for the customers and the stakeholders? If we don't have alignments, it's keep really difficult, hard to provide information to the interested parts, to the stakeholders. And thirdly, from my point of view, they just considered forest vegetation in the roadmap. Other wooded lands, grasslands, that are some natural vegetation in Brazilian biomes, very common, should have been included in their roadmap. In the case of the Cerrado, it involves keeping out of the compromise about 75% of natural vegetation, that could indicate to the production sector where they could convert natural vegetation to agriculture. No areas without a commitment. Okay, you can, we just will monitoring forest lands, and the other lands we can push to the sector to increase the conversion for the areas. So it's something that runs the other side in terms of ambitious desire to keep the planet average temperature under 1.5 Celsius degree. To finalize, it's essential to reaffirm that the roadmap needs clarification to explain the pathway to achieve their intention and ambition. The roadmap sounds nonsense in their way to reach their goals regarding all that they need to improve in the commitments existing and the lead effective actions. Transparency is crucial, and the roadmap is not clear. On contrary, it's imprecise. I just would like using the last minutes here to inform that we launched in the last 2 months 2 referentials of the soy traders for the soy traders in Brazil, improving transparency. The first one is the deforestation conversion-free soy reports between lines, a quick guide to the transparency. It is a referential that aims to guide soy traders to prepare and produce and issue progress reports. No. Another one is the guide to soy value chain, interpreting traders' progress reports on deforestation conversion-free sourcing. This is a referential that aims to support downstream companies and markets to interpret progress reports issued by soy traders. So with these documents, we understand that we can strengthen commitments and improve the transparency around the implementation commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisandro. So just to finalize this conference, this press conference, I want to highlight that this analysis that we have just presented is a preview of this new data that we are launching soon in December, on 7 December, looking at Brazilian soy exports and supply chains for the years 2019, 2020, where we will describe in more details these findings. This builds on existing data already available on our platform, which is up to 2018. So there is a lot of data that you can already explore, access at trase.earth. And in this live webinar, where we will be presenting these key findings, we will also gather key experts to share their supply chain and policy perspectives. So Lisandro will be in this event as well, together with someone from the trader sector. I still don't have the confirmation of their name, but it's someone from the soy sector. We will also have someone from the European Commission, who is involved in the deforestation-free regulation for the imports of forest risk commodities in the European Union. And we will also have someone to comment and to debate these perspectives. So please feel free to ask questions and also to know more, to find out more about this new data release, the webinar registration, and other insights from Trase. You can register for our mailing list at bit.ly/tracemail. Thank you.